Huer Verde, the village that vanished without a trace. Brazil, 1923. At that time, the country's interior was still dominated by dense forests, muddy rivers, and small villages living almost completely cut off from the outside world. One of those villages was called Huer Verde, a quiet settlement with fewer than 600 inhabitants, mostly farmers and small families. Huer Verde was not a remarkable village. There were no mines, no conflicts, no recorded outbreaks of disease. Its people lived the same routine for years, waking up at dawn, working the fields, worshiping in a small church, then returning home before nightfall. But one day, in mid-1923, the village vanished. The story came to light when a regional government official arrived in Huer Verde on an administrative visit to review tax records and population census data. He arrived in the late afternoon. What he found was not a busy community or children at play, but total silence. No chickens crowing, no smoke rising from kitchen fires, no footsteps. At first, he assumed he had arrived at the wrong time. Perhaps the villagers were out working in the fields. But as he walked along the village's dirt paths, something felt deeply wrong. In one house, the dining table was still set. Empty plates had been left behind. In another, clothes were still hanging on the walls. In the kitchen, pots contained dried food, as if they had been abandoned while still warm. There were no signs of violence, no valuables were missing, no evidence of struggle. Huer Verde appeared to be a village abandoned suddenly, without preparation. In the small village school, the blackboard still stood before rows of wooden desks. White chalk lay scattered on the floor. On the board, a short sentence had been written, hastily. Now a salvación. There is no salvation. There was no signature, no date, no explanation. It was the only message ever found. The local government quickly dispatched search teams. They combed the forests, rivers, and nearby trade routes. Not a single body was found. There were no reports of attacks. No neighboring villages reported seeing groups of refugees. Even more puzzling, there were no missing person reports from surrounding regions, as if hundreds of people had vanished from the record of life itself. Several theories emerged. A sudden mass migration, yet with no economic reason or natural disaster. An infectious disease, but with no bodies. A hidden conflict, without evidence of weapons. A historical record error, as if the village had been deliberately forgotten. None of these theories were supported by solid evidence. Not long after, the investigation was quietly halted. There was no final report, no press conference, no official case closure. Years passed. The forest reclaimed the village land, houses collapsed, roads disappeared. The name Huer Verde slowly vanished from maps. What remains is a simple yet disturbing question. How could hundreds of people leave without taking anything, without leaving a single body, and without ever being found again? Because in history, people usually leave traces behind. Huer Verde did not. And perhaps that is why, to this day, the village is considered one of the quietest mysteries in human history.